one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Here.
Here. Here. Ms. Miller?
Here. Here.
Ms. Willenbecker?
Here.
Mr. Rainer?
Here. At this time, is there any public comment on agenda items? Seeing none. Agenda item number 1.
I'm looking for a motion to approve council meeting minutes for the January 4th, 2021 meeting as submitted.
Second. Moved by Councilor Seitz, second by Councilor Willenbecker. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 2.
Approval of bills. I'm looking for a motion to approve payment of bills as shown on the accounts payable list dated January 14th, 2021, which is for the period of January 2nd, 2021 through January 14th, 2021, and approve payment of the ICDA accounts payable list dated January 14th, 2021, which is for the period of December 16th, 2020 through January 14th of 2021, and to ratify approval of such bills already paid and to authorize the appropriate officials to take the required actions to make those payments.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilor Willenbecker, second by Councilor Miller. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 3.
Okay, at our last council meeting, I made the mistake on the HT Partner letter of credit, the request for reduction. There were 2 sets of letters, and we grabbed the wrong one because there was a revised set that we should have brought to the meeting with different numbers. So tonight, I'm going to have ask for 3 motions because there were 3 letters, one for phase 1, 2, and 3. So the first one for phase 1, I'm going to ask for a motion to rescind the approval of January 4th, 2021, and to authorize a reduction of Woodland Hills Phase 1 letter of credit, number D007437, in the amount of $110,854.58, leaving a balance of $155,486.08.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Miller, second by Councilor Seitz. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, regarding phase 2 letter, I'm looking for a motion to rescind the approval made on January 4th, 2021, and to authorize a reduction of Woodland Hills Phase 2 letter of credit, number D007482, in the amount of $289,915.64, which leaves a balance of $120,854.25.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Willenbecker, second by Councilor Seitz. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Finally, phase 3 letter of credit, I'm looking for a motion to rescind the approval made on January 4th, 2021, and to authorize the reduction of Woodland Hills Phase 3 letter of credit number D007640 by $221,190.20, which leaves a balance of $136,442 and no cents.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Willenbecker, second by Councilor Seitz. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 4.
Alright, that's our ordinance 1375 regarding the tax collector salary. Going forward, looking for a motion to adopt ordinance 2021-1375, which increases the tax collector's salary by $5,000 effective January 1, 2022, with the increase allocated specifically and conditioned upon the tax collector providing collector services with respect to all per capita and occupation taxes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Luskevich, second by Counselor Seitz. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 8, if we could skip to the police report.
The first thing was the stats, and I just didn't know if anybody has any questions for me about the stats.
Anybody have any questions on the stats for?
Okay, so the training's looking for approval to get, 3 schools approved, 2 for Officer Cameron Gross and 1 for Sergeant Yoder.
Any questions on the training? Type of training?
Okay, thank you, sir. The cameras, do you have any questions about the cameras? And I was just gonna simply say that, I gave all the quotes for it, and that, as you can see, I believe it comes out to $46,139. If we wanna get them by May, you would have to order them in the month of January, so we need approval if we're gonna go forward with that, to order them pretty quickly.
Question, Mr. Kleinpeter, in the funds from the ICDA, were the cameras part of that comprehensive spending plan?
That was body cameras?
That's the the body cam package.
It was listed.
Yeah, what's on that?
The 46,000, didn't you request that last year? And what was the backstory on that? No?
Well, the body cameras came up when Vice President Seitz asked me about the cameras. I had already been working on quotes months and months prior to that, and then I think he had a motion, but
The 46,000 is a portion of what you want to get.
right. Initially, it was gonna be $99,000. That was the initial amount of money.
That's right.
So I went to different companies and tried to upgrade the current system that we have at GTAC, to try and bring the bill down. So this is upgrading all of our cameras, and clearly it's a lot less than going to a whole new. We don't need a server because we got the server, council approved the new IT server, so we didn't need that. That was a big thing in the budget for, the original quote.
Yeah, so the counselors are corrected, that was in the mayor, that was in that,
Comprehensive spending plan.
yeah.
So I guess when that money gets transferred, it was already approved, we could pull the trigger. Once the behind the scenes stuff takes place.
Right.
Does that help answer that question?
Yeah, you just tell me what to do, and if there's gonna be a purchase order, where I just need to know by the end of January to order them, or I will not get them in May, it will be pushed out months.
I think council should have a motion, I would think, to approve
Yeah,
that.
yeah, the money can move behind the
It's
scenes,
not in the
Sally may
budget.
know it when it's happening.
So I just wanna make sure, cause there was a motion and it was approved by the body for that comprehensive spending plan, will we have to re-motion every single line item again?
Well, you should move, you know, when there's a suggestion to actually go purchase something, or.
Yeah,
Yes,
especially when it's capital.
the specificity of where it's, you know, who you're
Because
buying.
it's not in your operating,
Yeah.
budget, it's capped. So, for example,
Yeah.
there's a long list of things there in that proposed spending plan which is approved. I always, suggest that all supervisors come back to council when they're ready to move on that. in case prices change, you can question it, or if priorities change, you have the opportunity to step in and say, we wanna reevaluate this list. Maybe come June, when there's something in there that becomes a bigger problem before we spend all that money, that we wanna reallocate.
Yeah, I think they look at it as you were putting silos of money for, but you're now actually doing a real procurement.
Approve the expenditure.
You know, the logistics of actually now buying something, I think you wanna approve how to do that.
So if you're in favor of him, making, that, encumbering that expense this month, he said January, $46,000, I would suggest that someone make a motion to, approve the expenditure of $46,000 for the purchase of.
Humor me for 1 second. We approved the budget for 2021, right? We don't come back and.
This isn't
before-
in the 2021.
Humor me. We approved the budget for 2021. We don't come back and motion to, allow payroll to go out the door, which is spending money. We don't motion to, if it's in the budget, we're good with it, right?
Well, when you're procuring from a third outside, which is different from, this is just your
But he's saying,
monthly payments.
he's saying budget, this money's not in the operating budget. This is cash. This is cash that's sitting in the ICDA bank, it's gonna have to transfer to our bank account. It's not in the operating plan that was approved by council, it's a separate approval that you made to move cash, okay? So, you've approved the expenditure plan, operating plan, we're not coming back to buy, and say we want approval to buy pencils or to pay people. But when it's capital items that are one-off purchases, aren't coming out of that spending plan, they're coming out of the cash balance somewhere. We always come back and say, we're ready to buy the truck now, and we have approval to buy it now.
Yeah, and also, just to kind of reinforce the formality of it, when we're doing a real procurement, you could budget $1 million for construction. But when you're gonna hire the ABC company and pick them out of, that, there should be the formality of the procurement being approved for that specific. You may know you're gonna spend, $1 million this year on this kind of project, but, when you're actually moving it forward, there ought to be formality, now's the date we're doing it, here's who we're doing it with, and you may have to break it down in chunks, but,
Yeah, as far as the operating budget, I'm overseeing that, because it's already been approved. The cash, you guys should always say, yeah, we're ready to.
I thought the body spoke and approved the spending plan.
We approved the spending plan, but we didn't approve the purchases. That's a plan.
Well,
As far as moving over, this is our intent. So like I say, that's a plan you approved. And 6 months from now, you might have 12 streetlights blow over and you need to replace them. But you know what? Well, they weren't in our plan, we're readopting a plan, this is going, this is why we always come back to you with capital purposes.
Where it comes in higher.
Yeah. Just to get on the record that you approved the actual purpose. You approve the plan, how to purchase, you approve the plan, how you're gonna approve the purchase.
well, yeah, so the,
Okay?
No, we'll have to do that
Okay.
when time sensitive business.
Yeah, no worries.
Is he, where is that? Cause I don't have it. I mean, I'll make a motion.
I can't find it either.
It's a number 12, item number 12 on the agenda, right?
No, I think.
Oh, you meant in the detail
Yeah, I didn't.
about the, I don't think it's in there.
I think it
You
was
have
in
got
the
that.
email.
But here he has a,
Oh, is it under, is it behind the 11,000 thing?
Yeah.
recap.
Yes, there's 4 pages.
Oh,
of
okay,
it.
it's of course behind, okay. Oh, the number you quoted is the whole,
I added them all together.
okay.
Right.
This way.
Okay, any other questions? Do you have any other questions?
About the cameras?
Anything else?
Not about the cameras. Yes, sir.
Do we need a motion then for the camera?
yeah.
Yes.
That
But
can
under
be take,
time
we can
sensitive,
take care of that under time sensitive.
Dennis, what's the total?
$46,139.
Thank you.
No change?
No, no change.
46,139.
Right.
Thank you.
And it says 18 body cameras. Is that what I'm reading?
Right. Correct.
Is that one for everybody?
Correct.
And if you would, down the road, if you would have to get additional ones, That's not a problem to do?
No, through GTAC, you can buy them individually now, it's not a
Okay.
problem.
Just, I'm just looking at this quickly. You sure there's no change? Because I see a 94 cents and 70 cents.
I got 46,
Yeah.
140, 64.
That's
Yeah,
what
I'm
I
thinking-
have. 46, 140, 64.
I was gonna say, I think there has to be some change.
I don't know, I used a calculator, I might have messed up.
Yeah, I think this is correct.
I would say 140, 60.
Yep.
How about your training, are they time sensitive? You have training you have in here?
I don't believe so. And the body camera number, just to go back, it can go down depending on it's in here for clips and mounts, how we're gonna put them on our body. So that, it could come down some money. It's not gonna be significant, but I mean, it could come down, you know, a couple $100.
Do you have any more, do you have anything else for your report?
Yeah, well, I was gonna talk about the grant. The grant was submitted for the radios, just so council's aware. I mean, we won't be able to get parts for these radios, I don't even think they're repairing them right now. I just purchased, a bunch of new batteries, cause you can't get any more batteries for these radios. So they're gonna be obsolete. If we can't get batteries, we can't get parts. And obviously the county's gone to the new radio system. The majority of departments probably have them already. So in the grant, which we, applied to the Violent Crimes Task Force money for Dauphin County, we did a $100,000 grant. That's the max you're allowed to ask for. So that's what I asked for. And we did check in with them. We haven't received a response as to where it's at. So I don't know what's going on with, that grant and those monies for the radios. Does anybody have any questions about radios?
I do.
Okay.
So, I just actually want a clarification. The grant's 100,000, the balance we were asking to come out of the ICDA funds.
Which was another $68,000. The total cost for the radios for the cars and portables is $168,000.
Is that also in the comprehensive spending plan?
The radio balance was.
Yeah.
The radio balance was in the ICDA request.
Did we received approvals and plans, but we didn't transfer any of that money yet?
No, we haven't done anything.
Sally, did you say a balance of 68?
Yes.
Cause the
So if the grant co-
RCDA has 78 balance.
I know. Well, that was the estimate we had at the time.
Okay.
I'm confused. Does the spending plan in the ICDA cover the cameras and the radios?
It has 46,000 in it for cameras and what was it?
Yeah, we put
67?
50 in for the, GTAC, or
GTAC.
the GTAC, cameras, and we put in 78 for the radios.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't recall, I know we approved the plan, but did we actually get a vote of approval to transfer the money?
No.
We should do that then in time sensitive tonight.
Well, I think we were waiting, for some other votes to happen on dissolution of,
The ICDA.
the ICDA before anything was completed, because there would be additional costs related to that dissolution.
And there was a question about a deed.
Yeah, so we have the deed signed tonight, we're gonna record that by tomorrow. Building,
So what I'm getting at, that money sitting in,
okay,
on ICDA in order to move it. We need some approval to move it.
yeah,
Might
actually,
go to another
we should
fund.
schedule another ICDA meeting,
Yeah.
there's one,
Okay.
and do the approval of both sides and actually,
There's two separate governmental entities.
Well, I thought we did do that on the ICDA.
No.
We voted to dissolve.
yeah, we actually did vote to transfer in that resolution, contingent upon the council approving it, which has happened, so we could do that.
So we have that authority to transfer.
Yeah, we did bake that into the
Okay.
resolution.
The council needs to act.
Council needs that.
Yeah.
Once we have the deed.
Well, I mean, the reality is we could even pay, you know, those final things out of the borough, since the money's being transferred over, like the recording costs and those things. I don't think you necessarily have to keep the, you know, that you can make part of the motion that the borough is assuming the responsibility to pay out those final costs. We talked about a couple little, you know, recording fees, that sort of thing. You know, probably some insurance stuff hanging out there.
Well, that comes out in the wash because this budgeting for these items we're over on it anyway.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is, I don't think we really need to keep that bank account open to take care of that because the money's moving and they're doing.
So the process though is, as long as the ICDA has not been resolved, the manager can't move that money to the fund. Doesn't the ICDA chairman have to play a part in that process to move that money from the ICDA account to the borough account?
Yeah, probably to sign the documents with the bank, but our resolution encompassed
Right. So that would
that
be the
happening
next step.
after, you know, so there's the authority's already there from the ICDA board in that resolution,
contingent upon council.
which council,
agreeing.
yeah.
Right. And when was council making that motion and voting on that?
Well, we had the motion to approve, going forward, so at the next business meeting, we're gonna have the, but remember, the part where council does its final approval of the certificate from the ICDA, we actually want the money already moved and the deed already moved. Because part of that is, there's no longer any assets left in the ICDA the moment the council says we now hereby approve the certificate to send to the Pennsylvania Department of State.
But we can move the money now without
Yes.
further approvals.
Right.
We just need to call the bank to see what they need from us, probably.
Right, yeah, they're definitely gonna need
From
signatures.
something from the chairman
Yeah,
to wire that money or move that money.
yeah, so, we have the approval to take all necessary steps to do that.
Excuse me though, maybe this point is being lost on me. I understand that the ICDA has made the resolution to do what it needs to do to say to the council, move forward. But that resolution, if I'm not mistaken, says, we're doing this so long as council is shutting down the ICDA, resolving it. There's contingency there.
Yes.
So that means the council needs to move on that.
Well, what I'm saying is council cannot take that ultimate thing while there are assets and property in the name of the ICDA.
Okay.
Okay?
So the money
So-
has to be transferred
Yeah,
before.
I mean,
okay.
if council wants, it can do an interim motion if that makes everybody feel better. Essentially, and I think we already did that, we're committing to the dissolution. But the actual act that dissolves it has to come, you know, after, at a point where there aren't any more assets left in the ICDA. So that we were time-wise aiming for the February business meeting, that we transfer, my expectation was we would transfer the money before that meeting, and we'll record the deed before that meeting. But it sounds like the mayor has a concern about is, are we gonna get to that point, council says no, and then all of a sudden now,
Well, now we
have we
then we have a
moved?
problem.
Yeah, have we moved these things with, you know, well, the understanding that it's being dissolved and it's not dissolved, that's, you know, probably, that's a problem because, you know.
Yeah, there was discussion at our last meeting where a couple councilors weren't in favor of dissolving. So I don't know how that vote's gonna shake out.
Yeah, so maybe we ought to put on time sensitive that we determine that now before we record the deed and move the money.
Also, for the next meeting, let's put motions together for each individual line item of the spending plan and get them on the floor.
Well, we didn't do that in preparation for this meeting because I was waiting
I'm
for all
talking
that.
for our next meeting.
Yeah, but you want a motion to expend money when we, like Council Sykes said, if we go out, we don't have the actual quote yet, it's a different amount.
Some of that spending plan was setting up sinking funds for the fire department.
That's one, yeah, so that one will set up a formal,
So,
that's the only one that was a.
That one we're gonna need an ordinance to set
Yeah,
up.
yeah, we'll work on, put together an ordinance.
so let's, by next meeting, let's put together,
We'll have to get advertised, the ordinance.
let's get everything in line so that we can,
No, we have rush this, but yeah, we'll do that.
Could we put in the motion, an amount contingent upon quotes or?
Yeah, you're not gonna be able, again, to pre-authorize procurements that aren't ripe yet.
And if I feel we would allocate, $75,000 for fencing, well, what's the bid gonna come back at? If I'm a contractor, I bid it at $75,000. I mean, that's just, a concern that could happen. But that's not ideal. If I knew the town was ready to pay $75,000, 75 grand.
Yeah, let's do a, time-sensitive one tonight, just make sure we have a motion to commit to dissolving the ICDA or not, and then we know, should we really be moving these things? We haven't recorded the deed yet. They said, although the formal blessing of it is now dissolved has to happen after everything moves. And it's not normally done as moving it. Normally, these things are dissolved because it's exhausted its life and there's nothing left. So we're sort of artificially infusing this idea of moving everything, which is perfectly fine if we're really moving it. But it's all done, in the pretext of we're dissolving it. If not, we'll have to rethink whether we can do it or how we do it.
So are we gonna be able to provide the chief with a motion tonight for body cameras, or are we not going to be able to?
Well, let's do that motion first, then we'll know if the money's really gonna move. That makes sense.
Okay.
And then he could put his motion after that, time sensitive, after public comment on this.
We'll let you know how it turns out.
Okay.
So, sorry, we're all trying to wrap our heads around this here. Did you have anything else?
Two things. Want to thank council for the fire marshal. He's already been a really big help. And we've had fires, and his reports are excellent, and he's there all the time. I've had lots of meetings with him. He's a really good asset for the department. He's a really good asset. The other thing was, I think council liked our uniforms. We brought them in here. Everybody's in agreement about that. I'm gonna start working on getting the new uniforms, sending guys to get measured, all that other stuff. Okay. So if anybody has any questions for me about anything?
Did we get a quote on the uniform?
Yeah, this uniform, and I can give you a general one, but I can tell you the area. This uniform is like $225 to $250, and the shirts are about $35, and the pants, I believe, are $65. So you're down to $100.
And what are we gonna do with those uniforms?
Well, I'm gonna have the guys keep at least 2 or 3 for court. If you have to go testify or anything like that, or a parade, a ceremony, things like that. Yeah.
Dennis, the total calls assisted other agency on the front page, is that included, that's a breakout from this left-hand column, is that correct?
Yeah, you mean it from the total calls of service?
Yeah, what I'm saying
yeah.
is the 7,410 include these ones in the box on the right.
Yes,
Okay,
they do.
thanks.
Anybody else have any questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. Stay safe.
All right.
Thanks, Dennis.
You're welcome.
Agenda item 5.
Okay, that's the manager's report. We received the DCNR grant agreement contract for Oak Hills and Overdeer Park. And I signed off on the scope of work that was previously approved in the council on the grant agreement with HRG to begin the engineering work. I think there is the retainer is probably in your packet for anybody that wants to take a look at it, but it lays out the scope of work and the progression of what the engineer will do as far as finalizing construction drawings to then bidding services, contract administration, and believe there is you might be most interested in the schedule that's on the very last page that shows the construction document review happening, between May and July of this year. August receiving final DCNR notice to proceed with advertising the bid. September, advertise construction project. December, award the construction project. In January, execute the construction contract. And sometime around April, start construction and finish up in October of next year. That's the tentative plan at this point.
Mr. Constable, what was the total amount that we would have to contribute to that project?
It's now down to about 13,000
Pardon me?
for the.
We're talking about Oak Hills and everything.
Oh, Oak Hill, excuse me.
This would be, the 50/50 grant, and I believe our portion is 128,000. So times two.
13 you mentioned.
It's for.
Are you saying that that's only 13,000 additional that we'll have to contribute to it?
Yeah, I think Sally can confirm that between the two grants, the reallocation and then the second grant that you applied for. and
That
we're
sounds
awarded,
right.
Plus all the private donations, I think it shakes out to roughly, don't quote me on that, but I think it's somewhere.
I'll take that all day.
I think it's roughly 13, but don't quote me on the exact number.
Mr. President, tonight on the time-sensitive business, I would like to seek council's permission to draft a letter to the George Fry Trust seeking the funds in the amount of $141,000 as our matching contribution to
Here's
the.
120.
Well,
He's adding.
well, yeah,
Oh, you're adding the Hopper
He
Park
is,
one.
yeah.
Okay.
to Hallford Parks project, Oak Hills and Overdeer Parks. So again, to reiterate, I'm gonna ask council request in the amount of $141,000, which would be for all three parks from the Fry Trust on our matching contribution.
You have any questions on that, Mr. Dunn?
Well, I'll get the details from, yeah, which three parks there are, so it's Hoffer and.
Oak Hill.
Oh, over here. Okay, we'll jump to item number 4, because we've already covered 2 and 3. Jeff Toms, previously had submitted his resignation, but things didn't, work out as he planned, so he is not going to have to leave county, staying in town, so he'd like to be, reappointed to the planning commission, where we have a number of vacancies. So, we don't have enough folks at the time to have a quorum, and we do have some important work hanging out there as far as the, parking ordinance changes in the zoning ordinance, so, we're asking if you would entertain appointing him tonight, to fill the planning commission spot, and then we also will jump down and include item number 5, Dawn Wright, who is, the wife of Jeff Toms, has also submitted a letter of interest to serve on the planning commission. So I will take these one by one. We'll start with Mr. Toms, Jeff Toms, and see if anybody has any questions or concerns about reappointing him, and whether or not you'd be willing to do that tonight.
Thank you, sir.
All right, do I have a motion to appoint Mr. Jeff Toms to the Middletown Borough Planning Commission?
How many motions do you have, Mr. Plucker?
Well, I kinda rolled it into one, I don't know if we can take this as one motion, or should we separate them?
No, I just wanted, if it's not on the agenda, we have to do a public comment, so.
Okay.
If you could just,
It's not, I mean,
So I say we can move it to the time.
but it's
sensitive.
also your decision if you wanna wait till February.
let's just fine. How many motions do you need?
We would need one for Mr. Toms and then one for Ms. Wright, if you're so inclined to do that.
Okay.
Now, you can do them tonight, I'm just, either you have to do a public comment.
I'm gonna open it up to public comment.
Okay,
Um,
on that issue.
you wanna read your motion and then before.
Okay, there'll be two motions then. First motion, and we'll stop there with the first motion. Do we have a motion to appoint Jeff Toms to the planning commission with a term to expire December 31st, 2023?
So moved.
Second. At this time, I'd like to open it up to public comment. Seeing none, we have a motion by Counselor Seitz, a second by Counselor Lloyd. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, the second motion would be, do I have a motion to appoint Dawn Wright to the planning commission with a term to expire December 31st, 2023?
So moved.
Second.
At this time, I'd like to open up the floor to public comment. Seeing no public comment, I have a motion by Counselor Seitz, a second by Counselor Miller. Any questions?
So there's nothing, stopping a husband and wife from serving on the same, no conflict of,
No.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, item number 6, we received a letter of resignation from Aaron Blake, who is resigning from the Human Relations Commission. I'd like to put that on the agenda for our February meeting for a vote.
Okay.
Item number 7, just an information piece, letting you know that MedEd staff will be performing comprehensive visual inspections of their transmission line by helicopter to see low-flying helicopters around. That's MedEd checking the status of their infrastructure. And then number 8, we have Mr. Lusatis here of Stechback Engineering, if you want to come forward, sir. He is representing the developer for the Dollar General store. And he has submitted an alternate building design for your reviews and consideration, which should be in everybody's packet. And we'll open it up to you, Mr. Lusatis, and council can ask any questions or concerns.
I appreciate that. Just kind of pick back up from our last conversation. At the last meeting, I believe we left it off that we would go back with renderings, which I brought here this evening. It sounds like you guys have a copy of the renderings yourselves. If you want to look at the blown up version, I can pass this around. There's two versions. One, we had discussed a brick style wainscoting around what would be the eastern side facing the residential property and the front facing State Route 230. So there's in this rendition, it's a darker brick wainscoting and the vertical metal panel siding. The second version is fairly similar, has the same facade upgrades on the east and front side, just different patterns. It's a lighter coloring for the siding, and also the wainscoting would be a lighter stone style facade. And that would also be continued down the long side of the building, the east facing side. This is what the developer has found room for in their budget, as far as these basic upgrades are concerned. That a lot of examples were sent, which we definitely appreciate. Unfortunately, in a lot of those examples, there's some really extensive upgrades there. A lot of coverage for those upgrades. which is, I just don't believe it's in the cards for this particular project.
Are you suggesting that Middletown's not upgradable?
No, what we're showing right here are building upgrades from the typical building that we would propose. I had discussed with Al briefly, and he had mentioned the store in Steelton Borough, that he thought looked pretty nice. I actually stopped by there, to take a look at it, and this is almost identical to the upgrades that have been done to that, the Steelton Borough Dollar General as well. It's simply a different wainscoting pattern and a different color.
Mr. President, at this time, I just wanna state that I do not see a reason for us to proceed with any further discussions. I just wanna state that, for the record, I am not, in agreement with zoning changes.
Now, quite frankly, I'm a little insulted that we're, not deemed worthy enough to have some of those nicer structures.
I just don't wanna waste any more of your time, any more Ken's time, or Al's time. And that's just my opinion, I'm one of 7, one of 8, including the mayor. But I just, I don't want, for the record, I don't wanna waste anyone else's time.
I will say, sir, with all due respect, if this came down to a tie vote, I would not vote in favor of it. Certainly Middletown is a town that wants additional business, that's not the issue here. But, when we talk about Dollar Generals that are in other states that Ellen had mentioned, and those upgrades that were done to the building to make it far more aesthetically pleasing than this, I think that's what we expect in Middletown, because this town is the greatest town in Dauphin County, and I don't think that having a building that looks like this, speaks to that. It's gonna be on the main street of the town, it's going to cause some traffic concerns, and I have to look out for the people, and I think Scott's doing that, and you, others that are going to speak up. This is right in a residential area, and I would be devastated if I owned a house there and I was staring at a building that was that deep, and it basically just looked like a pole building. I do have to tell you that based on my experience with construction, which I'm sure is not as vast as yours, I don't believe that this is going to bust the developer's budget to put in fake windows with metal roofs and lights that stick out over that. I think that would be far and away more aesthetically pleasing than this square building, a rectangular building. I do like how this entrance juts up over the roof line, but there is nothing else there to break up a monotonous large building. And I think that's why we were so adamant about the pictures that we sent you, because that is what we feel the people of this town deserve, is that rich look, if we're going to bring in something like a Dollar General. So I just tell you, from my perspective, if this was a tie, I would not vote to change anything.
Mr. Renner, one more comment. I did speak to over 15 business owners, all of which were for the majority small business owners that have been tragically hurt here over the past year, and they've invested some of them hundreds of thousands of dollars into their building, and they all urged me, do not vote for a structure such as that. They said that's not representative of the town that they want and that they have invested in.
We thank you for your time. Does anybody else have any questions?
I guess, I don't know if that's exactly where, we would, I should be leading the discussion. It's not my money, as I stated before. I don't really have the, capacity to offer anything additional, at this time, but I suppose out of curiosity, what, you guys sent several different, facade looks, none of which had too much in common other than the windows is from what I understand, I believe I understand the windows are, certainly desirable to the borough. Is there something else?
I think the pictures that were sent speak 1,000 words, and you clearly stated that that's the best you could do. So,
Well, this is,
you said that's the best you could do.
this is what I have to offer this evening. But in my representation of the developer, this is this is the leeway I'm given.
Well, if you wanna come back with different options at a later date, our doors are always open.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha,
I will-
understood. I do have, an alternate that I was given, for this evening.
What do you want? Ian, I would, going forward, I would highly suggest that you just contact Ken prior to travel time.
Shows some of those, faux window shutters on the front facade. Now, it's not clear to me exactly what is desired here.
From my perspective, and again, sir, I hope you don't take offense to what I'm saying, because certainly, I know that you're simply the messenger for the developer, so don't take offense to anything I say. But if this were to come down to a tie for some reason, I would say to you, you pick the nicest Dollar General that you ever built, and that's what I demand for Middletown. This is not, a subpar community, and I think the people deserve better than this pole building. And I would demand, the faux windows especially on the side. I mean, look how long that building is. On the side, it's gonna face the residential area. I would ask for the roofs that stick out over the windows and the light fixture that is over the windows and the designs that I sent. I would agree with Mr. Sykes that some foliage should be added to the landscape design to break up the big, huge building that's gonna take up, space at Grove Motors. That's how I feel. I'm not one of the 7, so I don't get to vote on this. I'm just saying, if
To
it ever
clarify,
came down-
this just represents the building. This doesn't represent any
Well, no, but
site
you're
design
asking-
around the building or.
Understood, but you just asked me, you're not
Right.
hearing a clear message as to what we want. I'm telling you, that's what I would want. I would want the windows, the roofs over the windows, the lights over the, roofs of the windows. I would want foliage. I would want that to look like the best Dollar General that you can imagine.
More brick, less metal.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say, the
yeah.
More
whole,
brick, less metal.
the residential area surrounding there, almost all of those homes are brick.
I don't know who
And
right
for
there
me,
is solid brick.
it looks to me like, if you will pardon the phrase, nickel and diming, when you put a little bit of faux brick on the side that faces the residential area of Main Street, but leave nothing on the side that faces Seven Sorrows Cemetery, and a view that comes down Main Street and onto Vine Street. Why would you put it here and not do it on the other side? It just seems like nickel and diming to me.
I
Again,
believe-
not you.
Right.
We get that you're jammed up here, but if you want feedback, this is not a group that's leaning into this project right now.
I believe that the basic reasoning was that there would be no need for upgrades against the cemetery. We could just do, a vegetated buffer so that it's not even visible. You do a fence or a line of trees along a fence.
Well, because you know that the visual is so important to us, it probably would be worthwhile showing us a complete visual. If you're saying there's treatment on that side, we don't see it, so we don't know.
And I'll speak for myself, I'm not sure about Ellen, but I want some real shrubbery and real trees. I
Absolutely.
don't want, knee-high shrubs,
Right.
so that it really does nothing. If you're gonna put shrubbery up to cover the cemetery, I want some 6-foot, 8-foot shrubbery along
Mhm.
the way, and some
Yeah.
trees that fit the same dimensions.
The scale of this building to where it is placed on Main Street is going to dwarf the whole landscape. So the degree to which anything can make that building look smaller, is it more brick? Is it more greenery? Is it, faux windows with that is just how I see this, as a monstrously large building that is going to skew the scale of that side of Main Street.
Yeah, that end of Main Street has had some very nice development over the past 6-7 years. Members First.
Members First is great.
The Rite Aid across
Yes.
the street.
Yep.
Mavis. Giant has done some significant
Mhm.
upgrades. So we just wanna keep with that
Right,
pattern.
right.
we appreciate your time coming in here and bringing us renderings.
Sure, absolutely. So it sounds like what you guys are looking for, if this would move forward at all, is a complete site design before we even move forward with the, rezone process.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So it sounded like some people might have been, a little offended by the offer or maybe there's some confusion about how we're, moving forward with this, but that is, in my experience, very uncommon. Not saying that there's anything wrong with that, I'm just saying, it sounds like, we may have been on different wavelengths,
We definitely
up to this point.
What would you even need a complete site design to get an idea? I mean, you could come back with, if the developer decides he would be willing to invest more in the building, you could just show us another sketch of the building. For example, is he willing to put brick on the west side of the building? You know, is he willing to put, say, windows and awnings in? Cause I think if you just put trees and shrubs in and you don't do those other
Oh,
things,
yeah.
I don't think council's gonna be happy with that,
Right.
that's what I'm hearing.
Right.
So you could start with the question of the building. Is there any more that's gonna happen before you get into
Right.
I agree.
designing the site? Cause that's
Yeah.
gonna take some time, I would imagine, right?
More or less, I mean, we wouldn't typically, provide renderings certainly, for the entire site design like that unless it was specifically requested.
What you have there, what you brought us today, is what we're asking for, just with a different aesthetic look. If that had bricks, if that had windows, if that had different roof lines, if that had exterior lighting, we'd be having a completely different discussion. You don't have to bring us a 3D model in, that would be sufficient with different upgrades.
Think if that front had awnings.
That level of presentation.
Windows.
Yes, thank
Not
you.
about the building.
West side had a line of brick also. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, there's a reason that as Ellen pointed out from her travels, that another state has a Dollar General that looks vastly different than what you have on that board. And when you say, you know, somebody was rubbed the wrong way, it's because we feel like, well, how did the developer pick the cheapest possible plan for a Dollar General from Middletown as compared to some of the places that Ellen had mentioned in the last meeting and we sent the pictures of? It's more about the richness of the look. It's not that we're saying we don't want business, I don't think anyone has said that they wouldn't be willing to, change the zoning, ordinance to allow a new business into the spot, and I know people are asking, this is in the Grove Motors, lot in front of the, car wash, which would be gone. What we're saying is Middletown deserves better than that design. That's what I'm saying.
If you can give a nice brick building in another community, we feel you should be able to do that here. If you can't, then we don't know if we wanna house you.
Understood. Just to clarify, I think that was based on, my understanding of this process is a little bit limited, but, from what I understand, they do some preliminary research based on, the zoning ordinance, the ordinances of the borough. Sounds like they may have underestimated their request to the borough, but at this point, the budget is, from what I understand, finalized between the developer and Dollar General. So they anticipate what needs to be budgeted for up front, go through what's called an REC process with Dollar General, which sets their allowable budget to develop the site. I don't know 100% sure if they can have the ability to go back to Dollar General and adjust that. My understanding is they don't. But I can ask. Yeah, it sounds like I don't wanna speak out of turn for the developer at all, but my understanding would be that extensive upgrades, and I understand, the what we're showing here doesn't look like much. And it's hard to say, I mean, I'm sure they could slap a couple more faux windows on the sides and potentially.
See, it's that kind of word that we find troubling. We're just gonna slap a couple more windows on the side. We're trying to express not just changing the ordinances, but a sensitivity to the site and our town that surrounds it. People live there. There's a cemetery there from the Catholic Church. So when we hear words like, we'll slap up a few windows, that's how we're left feeling that the treatment to that space in our town is being handled.
Understood, and pardon my terminology there, it's, may have been inappropriate.
I'll tell you what, slap a few bricks on, slap a few light fixtures on, slap a few faux windows on, and bring us back another rendering, and maybe we'll slap some ordinances on the desk.
Sure, understood.
This is also the oldest town in Dauphin County, so, you know, I can't change what a prior council did with a business coming in, but this council has clearly set the standard as to what they wanna see in terms of the, quality of the building. On
Sure.
the main street of town, see 17,000 cars a day, and I'm sure your developer knows that, which is why they picked it.
I believe they do. So moving forward here, if the developer chooses to do so, the best approach you think would be to go through Mr. Kleinfelder? Kleinpeter, sorry. Yeah, I'm, not doing well here, but,
We're not killing the messenger, I
No,
promise.
it's not your fault.
right, understood.
Just a little premature on their end to tighten down a budget so quickly in the process, so
Might
we hope
agree with
there's
you on
wiggle
that.
room.
Sure.
We hope there's wiggle room.
Maybe there's wiggle room on the sale price.
Well, I think that's also part of the issue here, is, this is, from what I understand, on the upper end of the sales price of properties that we've experienced with this particular developer. Of course, most of the sites are rural, but, that may have something to do with it. In any case, I think I have a decent idea of what's being requested. Take the information back to them and open it up for their consideration, and guess we'll be in touch moving forward with Ken and see if there's some sort of rendering that might be more appropriate, I guess, for the borough's aesthetic desires.
We appreciate your time.
Sure, thank you all.
Thank you so
Good
much.
cheers.
Agenda item number 9, or manager's report
I think
number
I'm
9.
going to save number 9 for when we get to the, I think Matt might have something in his report about the, MCSO gym, is that correct, Matt? We'll talk about it under public works, so we can move on to agenda item number 2. Code.
Okay, this time, agenda item number 6, codes.
We issued 25 building and zoning permits in December, 18 pre-sale, sidewalk inspections. Received 8 complaints and issued 2 notice of violations for various zoning and property maintenance problems.
Does anybody have any questions for Al? Any issues or concerns on your end, Al?
No, not right now.
Excellent. Well, that was quick, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Agenda item number 7.
Hi. Does anybody have any questions on my report? I added a few things at the end about the, Dauphin County tax collection grace period, which is, not unusual for them to do. They did it last year as well. Tom Foreman, received grant funding for, to purchase laptops from TMI. That paperwork has been submitted to Dauphin County for reimbursement. And our audit begins at the end of February and goes into early March. So that is what I'm gonna begin working on.
Anybody have any questions for Sal?
Sally, I have to present to you, Grace, if you can note this for the minutes, I cannot, divulge the name of the person, but there was a Middletown resident who reached out to me concerning the, ongoing Christmas upgrades in Hopper Park. And this particular person was extremely grateful for the borough, purchasing the menorah, for Hopper Park. And so in light of the ongoing efforts for fundraising, there is a check here for $500. And it's listed in a memo to put it in the Christmas account. So if the minutes can reflect that I'm presenting this to her. And I would thank that person, from the bottom of my heart. That's a very large donation. And so I really can't say a whole lot more since you wish to remain anonymous, but thank you and happy holidays.
Excellent. Any other questions or concerns for Sally? Excellent, Sally, thank you. Agenda item number 9.
All right. I wait all month for this. Thank you, everybody. Good evening. Hopefully you had a chance to review the report that I had submitted and Grace put in the packet. Most of the things are fairly straightforward. I did want to give a big shout out and thanks to the folks who helped remove the decorations, or who did remove the decorations down at Hoffer Park. With our current staffing situation, that was greatly appreciated that folks were able to do that. So I just wanted to make note of that. Slowly working on the MCSO with some painting. I ordered some guards for the emergency lights, since the basketball folks sometimes have errant balls and they've been clocking our emergency lights. Continuing winter maintenance, did purchase an additional salt spreader at the end of 2020, so we now have a salt spreader on one of the small dump trucks where we can do alleys more efficiently. We have a kickoff meeting on Thursday, this Thursday, for the generator project. We will meet with the engineer and the contractors to begin that process. And we will also meet with staff, Bob Ludwig here. We're gonna put the service to this building underground and get rid of the overhead service and get rid of the pole out of the parking lot. The pole is on its last legs, and rather than replacing it, we'll just go underground and not have to deal with it anymore.
We should do that on Main Street from end to end. Next year.
Is there another SCBA to dissolve?
I'll let Mr. Klein Peter draft up that resolution if he so chooses. Been working on some electrical stuff for Woodland Hills. We have a new hire starting next Monday, and another letter went out today for the second person. So we will get those positions filled, and hopefully we will get back up to proper staffing here a little bit. One thing that was kind of a one-off purchase, we had enough funds in 2020. I purchased battery backups for the traffic signals at Main and Union and Vine and Main that will automatically kick in when the power drops off. It is a total hassle to go out and put out tons of cones and temporary stop signs every time power is lost there. So the battery supplies will kick in and run the lights, I think for up to 45 minutes. So that should greatly minimize call outs and officers directing traffic and public works people fiddling around. And those are two pretty big intersections. So hopefully if funds are still available toward the end of 2021, that may be something that we could purchase for the other two signals as well, and try and get things upgraded a little bit. I've also purchased 2 new traffic signal controllers, actually 3 of them. We have very obsolete traffic controllers on Main Street. They are no longer manufactured, they're no longer supported, they are way out of date. So we will have new ones coming in. They are the latest. They will adapt with PennDOT's future automated stuff that they want to go in the direction for. So that'll be good to kind of get some of those signals squared away. As Ken noted, I'll go a little bit off my bottom there. We did receive an email from Mr. PA regarding the MCSO, and right now they're using Saturday mornings 8 to noon. They would like to go Sundays from 9 until 11.
In addition to Saturday.
In addition to Saturday, they want 2 practice days. Ken and I talked about it, we just wanted to bring it back to you folks, since originally they were kind of granted this along with the table tennis people, 1 day a week, one thing a week, so we just wanted to bring it back.
Table tennis is doing Tuesday nights still, or they're only doing?
I'm not sure if they're just one evening or not, I honestly don't know.
I think
Yeah, I know
they
there were 2 days a week.
I think the approval they got was they could continue to use it as they were. I don't think they asked for days, it's just, we've been here forever, can we, keep, you know, and council said, yeah.
Yeah, they do Tuesdays and,
Yeah, they were
Tuesdays and
Tuesday,
Fridays.
Friday.
And Mr. PA at that time, he came in and asked, you know, with the weather and getting his league up and running, he needed practice, and he asked for, could I have at least 1 day? He asked for Saturday for training, but now he's come back and said, you know, it's really cold out there, we're getting ready to start the season. It would benefit us if we could have another day of practice, because the league games are gonna start, I guess, in late February, March, something like that. But, so since council approved the initial Saturday, I don't wanna go ahead and give any approvals without you folks blessing it.
If everybody could humor me for a second, I have an idea. Maybe we could figure out a way to streamline this in the future, maybe get into the 21st century, just hear me out. If we were able to put a schedule on our website, where you could just, any Joe Schmo could go on our website.
Can I stop you?
Can I get
Yeah,
my?
well, because Mara has a schedule, they're supposed to do that. They got rid of their employee, they're supposed to hire another employee in the spring and close it over and take that over. So all I'm saying is, why would we wanna expend our energies, our time, and do that with our own schedule, but it's only gonna be for a couple of months until they hire somebody? That's all I'm saying, because if you recall the discussion I had before, where I didn't wanna do it, I wanted to turn that all over to Will when he was here. Because I didn't want him scheduling certain groups of people, and somebody here, we'd have to designate this to schedule other groups of people, and then we have conflicts. So Will was gonna have this schedule that he would keep the master schedule, and he shared it with Greg, so we could see who was in their way. In case council said, we'd like to use the gym for something, you know, town hall, whatever, we could go to that schedule.
Well, I just want to spit my idea out for the humor me anyways.
Sure.
For argument's sake, we live in the 21st century. We could very easily put a schedule up on our website. You could go, you click on the date and the time you want. It's a flat fee, $250. You fill out your information, it gives you a code. There would be a little bit of, you would have to work with a locksmith, that code would open that door at that time, and then you could let yourself in. You know, there'd be a simple online form you'd fill out when you submit your payment, just like if you buy anything off of an internet today with a credit card. Put your name, your information, your card information, you get charged $250, you get a code, that code would be good for that day. Boom, 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 we'd make money off of it. And we would never have to talk about it, because you would just go online, and if it's available, it's available, if it's not, it's not. And you charge $250, flat fee for the day.
There's more labor involved than that. Someone here would have to maintain it. How are disputes gonna be settled if 2 people come in at the same day?
Okay, 2 people can't come in the same day because your website will not allow 2 people to come in at the same day.
Well, one of the things that Matt
We have to
said is
take
what
the
I-
money, or are we gonna block that time until their payment clears, cause we have some
It's all
wonky
credit
thing
card
with taking
based.
credit cards?
We take credit cards for electric payments. Do we
Can I just
shut
jump
people's
in
electric
a minute?
off? I don't know.
My main issue when this all went down years ago, when Mara formed, and everybody was
There's
on
been
board
nothing but
with
a problem.
we don't wanna manage the recreation department. We don't have a recreation department. So, we can set up all the websites we want, collect money, but then somebody's gonna have to manage the recreation department. While Mara has a vacancy, that means somebody breaks things, or disputes, not even with payment, but
Needs cleaned?
needs cleaned, something's broken. We wanted Mara to manage that.
So, so right now, I just wanna know this one question. One more kicks back in, and the lights go out, light bulb goes out. Who's replacing that light bulb? Is it us or Mark?
We do, because it's our
Yeah,
facility.
yeah.
But that's not managing, managers, the manager's
hold
gonna
on.
toss the light bulbs out.
I understand.
We don't have to go check all that.
there's cleaning, there's getting the keys back.
It's gonna be weekend stuff. We
But I
don't
think
work-
to Ian's point, he's talking keyless, either whether a
Some-
fire.
Someone still has to come to the building at the end of the event to make sure that they've left, that there's not something burning in a trash can. Someone has to come at the end of the night to ensure that our building is safe. Just because we're in the 21st century and we can do stuff online, doesn't mean they're not going to destroy our building while they're here.
In the midst of
Yeah,
the.
that was never done.
You could do that with a
Then
camera.
someone
Well,
has
we've
to
had
watch
this
the
thing in the
camera.
midst of the program where, you know, the heat's not working, and they're calling our guys, and our guys are coming on a call.
I got,
Will wasn't, okay, he wasn't.
I got news, but if Mar gets a phone call and they say their heat's not working, guess who Will's calling? Well, the Mar guy. He's gonna pick up the phone and say, I don't know what to do, the heat's not working. Guess who's gonna come down here? Public Works.
I just paid $800 to have 2 thermostats paid in there. And no
I'm
one's
just saying,
paying,
but that's what will
and we're
happen.
not getting money now. No one's paying for the
I'm just
use
saying,
now.
well, that's what will happen. Mar's not gonna fix it.
You know what the simple solution to this is? Sell the
As far as I
building.
know, what I can do.
Oh, yeah.
That building, I don't think we can sell because of emergency purposes.
Right, well, you don't want a recreation, you want a recreation department, you wanna manage it, you want them to manage it.
We don't wanna sell
It's
this
as simple as
building, but we
that.
do wanna sell Main Street.
Yeah, I was
That-
thinking Main Street, Jim.
Main Street we want.
That's,
Yeah, we're
that's what I'm
talking-
saying,
yeah.
because they use that as well, it's the same
Yeah.
situation.
Main
Get rid of-
Street we wanna sell.
Then list it, because this stuff with Mara and,
Well, Mara's been nothing but a joke. I'm just gonna throw that out there since day one. That's my opinion.
We just replaced the sump pump up at the Main Street gym. The little 10-by-10 basement was flooded. The sump pump died and it filled up with rainwater, and it's done it before and flooded out the generator that's down there. The generator even sits on a 3-foot-high table and it floods.
Wow. Last meeting, or 2 meetings ago, then we discussed, investigating various options with the properties.
Yes.
What did we discover? I think we discussed Main Street gym and the pool, if I'm not mistaken, just those 2 specifically.
I just say, if Mara's
Yeah,
gonna.
we could not find any restriction on the pool, and Ken thought there was one, but couldn't find any.
No, there's a restriction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a land water conservation grant, when that pool was upgraded.
But it has to, it can
We
stay
haven't done
rec-
anything on the gym, we don't have any records on the gym.
All I know is if Mara's gonna run it, then let Mara run it. If the light bulb's out, let him call an electrician. If the heat's out, let him call an HVAC guy. If the floor's busted, let him call a floor company. Let him handle it. They're gonna, if that's the, we need, then just
This
let him handle
council
it.
signed an agreement with Meredith, lays all that out, what our responsibilities are and what theirs are. Okay, you guys all,
And then,
most of-
and then Mara's gonna come to us, because they have more bills, so they're gonna come to us and they're gonna jack up our cost to them. So it's gonna cost us more, we're gonna pay into Mara, than it's going to be to replace the damn light bulb.
That's what I was gonna say, Jim. I mean, Ian, I don't necessarily disagree with you, but the fact of the matter is, either, any way you look at it, we are all paying for it. Whether it's Mara or it's us over here, we're all paying for it because it's gonna be school district or
how long is the agreement?
I haven't in front of me, but I think it was originally 5
I
years.
think it was 5 years.
Effective.
I don't know what, I think we're in year 2, 1, starting year 2,
We're not in year one.
we're starting year 2.
What was that, Tom? Mayor's
We're in year 2.
Dawn, do
There's
I
a meeting
remember,
and
hearing that because there was this almost year gap in service, if you will, that the grantors were extending the length of the grant? Do I remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it'll be total 6 years till, okay.
Yeah, that's up to council, I mean, we'll bring the documents in, you wanna look at it, and I think you're committed to something in that agreement. At this point.
That's all lost, because we're paying taxpayers in the school district.
Oh, yeah, you're not making money, you're not gonna make money if you run it.
Right.
It's just like the pool, it's recreation, you're not gonna make money.
All I'm getting at is,
But we wanna minimize our losses.
well, not just minimize our losses,
We
but
also wanna minimize our labor.
I'd like to
Well,
minimize, it's not just the MCSO building, it's also Huffer Park or anything else that we do. in the service industry, we should automate it as much as possible. And there's no reason in the 21st century you cannot sit down at your computer, go on, click on a button, put in your information, and rent something.
And that's exactly.
I can rent a sports car, an airplane.
And Mara had that set up that way. Will had something like that they could go online, onto a program, submit their date, submit their credit card, and it would be done. Will had it set up like that. That's all they had to do.
They're not doing it.
And we have the Bob project that will allow people to get.
They're not doing it because they don't have anybody right now.
Well, now it's our problem.
So I didn't mean the PA request to get into a bigger discussion, but it did. But I guess the initial issue is, you know, if we go back to when this whole COVID thing started, I recommended we don't let anybody use the gym. This council decided to let the ping pong guys continue.
Well, I
and
mean,
then allow Mr. PA to have the day.
do we
So
know
that's why
when-
I'm back here asking you guys again, because I don't wanna get chapped for making the wrong decision.
What's do we know when Mara's coming back?
In their letter, they said they were gonna, till the spring of 2021, they were gonna look to hire.
Yeah, but I think that may have even been predicated on
That was what
maybe
they said a
COVID
year ago.
going away.
Well, we're getting ready to go into a dark winter, so I mean, who knows, may
That
not.
starts tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
It's just Dawn, do you know any update on that, what their plans are?
There was just an email that was sent out yesterday. Chris Long actually asked if we're having a meeting, and right now, we're not having a meeting for January. It will probably be February or March to hire somebody in late spring, early fall, because of the issues with not being able to do anything. We don't wanna pay a director out of the grant money if they're not able to do anything.
And that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't.
Personally, I think we should allow Mr. PA to utilize the facility because hopefully it brings some business to the other folks, and he's using it Saturday. If he uses it Sunday, he's the same user, there's no additional cleaning costs, he's the next person in there, he can clean it Sunday just like he did on Saturday. And hopefully he buys breakfast at the Brown Center.
And I agree with that, and I just, one last thing I would say is, I think it is worth, because we do have Huffer Park, and one day Mario will be gone, and we'll have this, maybe worth a phone call to our web developers and say, are you able to do this, how much would it cost? And maybe we could even implement something small in the interim.
Yeah.
But, because we do have other, it's not just the MCSO building, we do have other,
Huffer Park is rented out a
event
lot.
space. I don't know, I mean, you call your developer up and you do it all in one. That way we don't have to keep coming back here. You could even do it to include for, if you wanna do like the street closures and parades and stuff like that. Go on, pick the date, submit the form, fill the form out, pay the bill, boom. Automated.
We want people inside as little as possible, because the less they're inside,
And that gives
more,
it-
yeah,
that
the more
gives less on
productive,
staff. I
yeah, the
mean-
more productive Ken and the ladies downstairs are.
All the ladies have to say is downstairs, go on the website,
Yeah.
fill it out.
Yeah.
It's less on our staff. And I think that's, honestly, that's the real goal here.
Yeah.
Is to make it as less on staff as possible.
I said to Ken, in my ideal world, I'd have that downstairs open 3 days a week, one on the day of each billing cycle, the rest of it, it's all online.
Well,
That would be my.
might be a
We
little.
get a tremendous amount of walk-in people for whatever reason, it's their highlight of the day to come in and pay their stuff. I have, I mean, for my purposes as Public Works, I have no issues with maintaining the facility because it's our facility. I don't see an issue if the floor breaks or the light bulb breaks or whatever, that's taking care of our building. But the cleaning and the just tending up after everything
Right.
is an issue. And I understand the concept that, maybe the folks who come in and play basketball, I guess I just have to pose it to you, is the MCSO just open? Because if 6 more people come next week and say they wanna do something, are we gonna allow them? That, we can't, you really start going down a rabbit hole when it's this or that. As far as I know, we're not getting paid anything.
That's
So-
why I think it just needs to, listen, I know Mara's in the picture, and maybe in the picture this year, next year, 5 years from now, who knows? But we do have other spaces in the borough that we could utilize some sort of streamlined program.
Right,
I
I'm
think
just
it's
thinking
worth-
of that issue right now.
Yes.
I just need direction. Are we gonna open it up to everybody? Because if 6 more people say X, Y, and Z, then I have to schedule people to come and deal with it. I have to schedule people to come in and clean.
Well, let us cross that bridge when we get to it. Do you mind on that one?
Well, are we gonna allow Mr. PA to do his second day?
And that is the question. So,
Are we going to start charging?
how long? Is it through February?
He said in his email to me, that our season begins in February. We want to make sure we are getting into a gym more than once a week. We will
That's-
only use the facility for practice and shoot around with our team. No games will be held at the MCSO.
That's
So,
how I read it, February.
yes, but,
Once this game starts, he's still gonna wanna practice.
Yeah.
probably.
yeah, I'm not sure how long the season
Yeah.
is, but I would agree. I'm assuming they'll probably still practice
They'll play
every
in
single
March,
week
probably. They'll play in
during
April.
the season.
Till the end of March.
Oh, yeah, he does say on the first line. So, yeah, maybe their season, maybe they'll move outside in the beginning of April. You know, the weather may break and maybe they'll practice outside. I just need some direction so I can assign staff
Right.
appropriately.
I'll make 2 comments. Personally, I'm open to opening it up for everybody, and second off, I am open to charging a fee. I don't know that we need to break the bank, you know, I know Mr. PA last time said, you know, I think what he said, I think he said $50 was maybe a little more than he'd want to pay. I'd be open to $25 a time.
The difficult thing is if I have to schedule someone to come in, it whacks out with their schedules. If I do a call out, then it's 4 hours to come in and do a quick dust mop and empty a trash can for the facility. So, you know, because of how the contract is set up with staff, I kinda have to watch. And, you know, someone's gonna have to work on the weekend, which they may, you know, there's a whole,
And the nice thing about it, if you could do something online, is you could build it into where if you block a time out, that would be on the weekend. It may say the fee's $250, and if you block out a time or wanna select a time, you know, Monday at 10 o'clock, you know, it may be $50. And you may be able to just,
Cause of expense.
you know, it
Just
just.
Sarah, you gotta,
You could sit,
gotta,
you can go in any hotel in the world and book a room offline. You can pay for it, schedule it, book it.
they usually have a little more robust IT system than we do.
I don't like excuses, I like
I'm not making an excuse. You know, there's still someone who has to look at that every day. I'm just a nuts and bolts kind of guy, but I know when anything goes south, Public Works are the ones that are called. And I just wanna be able to prioritize the borough's needs borough-wide with pushing a dust mop in a gymnasium when we may have more critical things that need to be done. That's my only point. I will gladly do whatever is the direct. But if we start adding these things, it's man hours. I mean, I would always come to the building at the end of an event and make sure it is locked and secure and the lights are off. That's just me.
No, I don't know, Mr. Mayor. Can our police staff do it? I mean, I don't know, I think in the past, if I'm not mistaken, part of their job is to check our facilities.
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, and I'm not saying that, you know, he leaves at 8 PM, they have to be there at 8 PM, but do they check it between 8 and 11, between, you know?
Make sure it breaks out and block.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I mean, that's what the police force does, and I'm going back before your time, you know, I think that's what they did.
I remember when the police used to get out of their cars and walk to every business and check every business's door. I don't think our police do that anymore.
Well, I do think that as well, but I mean, they should definitely be checking our facilities.
Borough
They should be
facilities,
checking
right.
everything.
Right.
Just riding around in your car all night's not policing.
Yeah, just come around here, pull all the doors on our facility.
let's not get too off track here. I guess where I'm advocating is, I'm okay either way. Do we wanna open it up? We don't, I don't care either way. If we're gonna open it up, and we're also gonna think about Hubbard Park, I think we should look at a bigger picture to streamline it, make it more consistent, so we don't have to do this every time someone comes and wants to use our services.
I don't think we're gonna figure it out tonight.
I'm not saying we are, I'm just saying, think about it.
I mean, I wonder if, Dawn, is Mara's scheduling system proprietary?
Is it, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
You know, is it
Can anybody-
proprietary? Is it something that we could possibly piggyback onto if this is the direction we go until they hire someone, rather than reinventing our own wheel?
I think it's done by the school district.
Okay, it's on their
Yeah,
server.
it's done through the school, the Mara director is hired through the school district, and it's done through the school website.
Okay,
It's as simple as calling your
Well,
web
it's
developer.
contact them, I mean,
It's doable, it's not.
Oh, maybe we can just start for now, tell Mr. PA, yes, Sunday's fine, we don't charge him, cause I know we entertained charging him when he asked for Saturdays, and when we did it, he said, I don't want it then, I can't afford it. And we said, okay, you don't have to pay, so.
That's another thing, we gotta be consistent, so, and that's,
and that's why I think
that's-
we went to,
we gotta be consistent, so,
So can we just give him?
I also think it's why not, we're sort of down the road this far with him, but to your point, Scott, we do charge people to use the pavilion, so for consistency, if this is gonna be something that could come up again, as you're saying, Matt, we probably should have a fee structure for it
There is one.
also.
We gave it to Mara, set it up with Mara, for them to collect the money.
Well, would Mara book something that isn't like a Mara spot? I guess that's my
Yeah, and then
question.
the money was gonna go into the account to offset the rec director's salary, so we don't have to
Oh.
continue to pay money here. Hopefully it becomes self-supporting, that all the programs that the Mara runs, whether it be renting it to the Kings basketball for games, or Little League basketball games,
I see.
you know.
So if
right,
Mara was still active,
They would
then they
take the
would
money
be dealing with
instead of
Mr.
us taking the
PA,
money.
we wouldn't.
Right.
I see what you're
In
saying.
fact, that's how Mr. PA came to it, because Mara told them that they would work with him and set something up. Before Mara left their
Had to
employee.
close for a while, yep.
They were preliminary work.
So does Mara schedule the tennis,
They were scheduling pickleball and all kinds of stuff.
Okay, I understand.
For the short term, can we give this man an answer on what we're doing with Mr. PA, and then it sounds like the council wants to look at a bigger picture of fees and scheduling for another night, but
Yeah.
we at least need the answer on.
okay, so is everybody in favor of letting our MCSO to be used in the interim while we work out a fee and scheduling structure in the interim of Mara not being in operation? Okay, so you have the direction on that. Mr. Klein, Peter, would you at least just reach out maybe to our IT/web people and just ask them some preliminary questions? If we could, what it would look like, what it would cost, if it's doable.
To do what?
The schedule.
To be able to do
Schedule online?
To be able to do some sort of scheduling system.
And maybe.
So we wanna, if Mara's gonna come back, you're saying we wanna duplicate what they're doing?
I'm saying one day Mara may not, because the contract's over for 5 years, and they're,
And for Hoffer, we do.
and for Hoffer, we do need to do something anyway.
Well, was it Mara's schedule in Hoffer?
No,
No,
the borough does that, as far as the shelters.
That's what I'm saying, let's just do it. We got it set up for Hoffer Park anyways, we'll do it in the interim while Mara's not here. When Mara gets here, we can call our IT guy up, tell him to turn off the portal for the MCSO. Mara can launch that, do their thing. When they quit again, we can just call our IT guy back up, say, turn the portal back on, he'll turn it back on, and we'll be back up and running.
And call up the school district, ask them what they're using, so, and so that it's similar, that when Mara fires back up, it's all seamless for the citizens.
As far as payment though, I think we looked at, we need to upgrade our software, correct, if we're gonna do online payments or things like that?
Yeah, and One of the issues would be, the fee schedule that we set for, shelters and the pavilions, is the returnable amount. Cause right now we collect a check, it's not online, so I'd have to figure out, you know, if they pay
People come in and
online,
pay.
how we get it back to them.
Let's get the, quote, or Aimco to give us a quote to change the software, and so we can get into the 21st century.
You guys will love it because there's less people in your hair now.
Right.
Okay, I can, let Mr. PA know that Sundays, Saturdays and Sundays are fine.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything else?
Yes. We are doing some work at the water plant to build a floor over top of what was a sand filter. And, there are a few hundred pickets in our way. Can we make a resolution on the pickets to put a nail on that?
Oh, Hoffer Park pickets.
Yeah. I have photographs, there's just oodles and oodles and oodles of them that we stacked down there on, you know, council's guidance previously, but no one has said anything, requested anything, it's been.
Were we able to like build a mural out of them and put them in Hoffer Park, like a wall?
Oh my God. Just look.
Oh, no,
Bonfire will.
I don't know.
I mean, that's.
Yeah, but some of them, yeah.
Two of them are.
My suggestion
My
is to put up a
family.
final post to say final call. It's been years now since they've taken down. If you're not here by this date, they're gone.
So, okay, let's just pick a date right now. Somebody give me a date.
March 1st.
Everybody okay with March 1st?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, there it
What day of
is.
the week that is.
Mr. Kleiner, if you could please put that on our Facebook page and, our website, and after March 1st,
Electric
Mr.
bill,
Miller?
it's first Monday, it's the first Monday in March.
Excellent, thank you.
you can,
Electric
have a
bill,
bonfire.
electric bill.
They put it on the, put it on the back of the electric bill.
Oh.
Yeah, back of the-
Okay, you say electric bill.
Didn't match, did it?
No, I was somewhere else. Thank you for that, that will be awesome, that will gain us a lot more storage, and what we are looking to do is actually hang the swags so that they're not all coiled up and laying in a heap. We will, put wire up, and, we can, since we'll have the floor there, that'll gain us storage space, and we can actually just hook them and walk them over and push them tight together while hanging, but at least they won't be, it's kind of a big rat's nest every winter.
Can I ask you a question, Matt?
Yes, sir.
So I've already asked this of some of your electric people, but I wanna hear it from you. Those swags every year are a pain, are they not?
They are labor intensive.
And you have to park a truck in the middle of the road in order to hang them.
It's labor intensive and requires vehicles.
Yeah. Would it be much easier for the public works team if you were hanging decorations on telephone poles rather than stringing them across the entire street?
I know when I go home now, like in Steelman High Spire, they have ones, like where we have the banners, they have lighted ones. One of them has like a wreath and there's like 3 little candles.
According to Bob,
Yes,
he
it would be
indicated-
easier.
He indicated that the brackets can basically remain on the pole, and that the outlet remains on the pole, and then he merely could drive the truck down the road with a guy in a bucket, snap them into place, plug them in, move on to the next one.
I mean, anytime you're stretching something across the road, you have to momentarily stop traffic, you don't want cars driving underneath it while you're trying to fight with it and everything else. I think in the long term, that would be a great solution. I mean, I've thought about that. Some of the swags are, I don't know how old they are, some of them are getting a little rough.
I asked that because with 11 months to go, that was something that I was considering as a fundraiser, but I would like to hear from, I'm not asking for it tonight, but I'd like to hear from some of my teammates here as to how they feel about that.
I would support that.
Because I feel it would get rid of labor. I know how hard you work during the holiday season to put all that up. I feel it would be clean looking, and I also think that it would eliminate wires all over the streets. Those wires are meant only for hanging that. So anywhere where those swags are, those wires would be removed. That would help clean up the street. And furthermore, there are wires attached to private residences to hang those flags, and I don't love that. The house on the square is one prime example. The wire goes from a telephone pole to a house, and then we hang a swag on it. I don't love that. So, I'm not asking for it tonight, but if council is interested in changing those decorations over the street, that was one idea I had with 11 months to go.
I know one of the things that I've seen, you know, going down Front Street or Second Street in High Square, I guess it is even on their banners that they hung up over the summer, they have a portion at the bottom that has businesses on it. And I think they get some, I'll say donation, but cost.
You're on my wavelength.
You know, and I don't know if something like that could easily be done with the wreath or star or whatever. Riley's has all kinds of cool stuff about that.
Right.
And the other thing with the swags is it's difficult because they coil the lights around the swag and it looks like half the lights are burned out when you look at it because they're actually the lights on the other side. They almost should have a string of lights on both sides that's wire tied so it can't move. Yeah, I mean, I would be in favor. It is a labor thing. It takes a while to take them down and store them and.
Just one final question, and then we gotta keep moving, but for those of you that have lived here, I've only been here 10 years, all of you have been here far longer than I. Is that, if I broach that topic with the residents, is that something that they're gonna be highly sentimental with, that they will not, the
When I was a
swag?
kid, they had swag, they weren't these.
Okay, so they always had a swag.
I remember those.
Remember the rounds with the Santa Claus pictures?
I remember those.
Yeah.
Wow.
Classic, yeah.
So the swag design has kind of been a Middletown thing. for-
Inside, yeah,
Okay.
50 years.
They are expensive. I just saw them and we just got our catalog from Riley's and, I was looking into, I was working with Riley's to talk about the business light thing. And, the swags they're expensive. If we would go to replace those out, they're like $1,500.
I think you have a good idea. Now, maybe I could see, you look, for sentimental purposes, and maybe like the square area here, up at that square.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Put them, and then phase them, you know.
That's not a bad idea.
Well, the square is one place where they're missing nowadays because we
Oh,
lost,
because,
anchors on the
yeah,
building.
we talked.
You could
But it's
kind of
a-
harken
yeah.
back to them with a lantern, because there's a lantern on that swag.
Yeah.
They make lanterns that light up that you mount to the telephone pole,
Right.
so that's an option. I'll throw it out to the public too, but I wanted to get input from the
Yeah.
7 of you.
Yeah, I can tell you, from my experience when I worked in steel, the ones on the poles go up a lot quicker.
Right.
I've seen it.
Right.
These swags, when we've had some rough windy winters, they come down in the street and cause a traffic issue. We got the call out to get them off the road when it got windy. So-
Yeah. I just, and then they're parked in the middle of the road on the yellow line with cars going around them while they're trying to hang that stuff. I mean, for how much time it takes
And the replacement cost.
and the replacement cost, and to clean up the street, you're gonna eliminate a lot of wires by getting rid of them. I think that's a beneficial thing, so think about it.
Yeah.
I'll come back to you.
Does anybody have any questions, any other questions for Mr. Miller?
I have two other things, and I'll be quiet, honest. As kind of following up on what you folks were talking about with establishing a sinking fund, I've never heard that term until I worked here, for fire apparatus, I would like council to possibly consider setting one up for both the electric and for public works. And it could be out of the year-end remaining fund surplus, however the wording would have to be, on an annual basis, so some level of funds are deposited in there, and it would strictly be for vehicle replacement. Just so that we have a start and we can try to move forward. I am working on a vehicle replacement schedule. I have it about 75% done. It goes out to 2035. And I have some really good ideas on how we can fund, some vehicle replacements, leveraging some different funds, but, I think we need to start somewhere, and even if it's a relatively small amount, at least we're beginning to put something aside on an annual basis. That would be automatically triggered, that it wouldn't have to come back each year. I think kind of like, Mayor Reed's rainy day fund was kind of a percentage that gets dumped in. Just something to consider. We won't solve that this evening. The last thing that I have is, what do we wanna do with the pavers downtown?
Dollar General?
There's a lot, well, there's a lot more of them that have popped, and.
Oh, I thought you meant the extras, I'm sorry.
No, well, that's, and I am gonna have staff get me a accurate inventory of that, so we can move forward on that, but, you know, we spent a few days, last summer, we paid $1,000 to Flagger Force to flag the intersection for us, and there's probably just as many that have popped now. And they're going, I mean, we could put pavers in and next week they could pop off, the tops could pop off, they are just the wrong material for that application. So at some point, do you just want me to fish and not cut bait and just get a preliminary estimate for taking them all up and paving it?
Yeah, I don't, as much as, I understand the concern, I don't know if that's just in our cards right now, we have some, I mean.
Well, we have liquid fuels money that can be used for it. The sad part is we're still paying for them. But like right now, there's a bunch that need to be redone. I have to shut down one whole side of the signalized intersection. It needs flagged, needs 4 flaggers to do that. It's very labor intensive to continue to replace the pavers. And now what I did, I reached out and I got an estimate last week for doing the crosswalks in a material that's 3/4 of an inch thick, and it's made out of, it has some glass in it and some asphalt type stuff, and it gets stamped and it stays red. And it has a brick pattern. They have like 7 or 8 different patterns you can choose from. I think that would look nice and highlight the crosswalks, and it's also very durable because our crosswalks actually have concrete on both sides, pinning it in so the plows can't catch it. But the pavers themselves are going to be an ongoing labor nightmare. We do have pavers. It's not that it's a cost to do the pavers. It's just 3 people out there with little air hammers chipping them all out one at a time, digging them out by hand.
Mr. Kleinpeter, correct me if I'm wrong, to me, this sounds like a capital project that should be maybe put in our budget talks.
You can get a price quote from somebody and you'll know how much, right? But yeah, it's gonna be.
I just know, I mean, we had such a
Take all
rough.
those out of the square and repay that square, I don't know, you could probably spend what, $80,000, $100,000?
Oh, I'm thinking in 6 figures. I mean, there's concrete underneath it.
Yeah, $100,000, 6 figures.
Right, oh yeah, you'll be in 6 figures, without a doubt. Because of the, you know, some of it's just the weird design with those inside corners. They should never, inside corners are bad, we can't sweep them, we can't plow them, they're, whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean,
We're down that road.
We can't
But that's a lot of
go
handwork
back
for
in
the
time
pavement.
and change that, obviously.
We can change them if you wanna redo the square. We can take them out and make them curb radii. That'd be the opportunity to do it if you wanna do something and change it. But yeah, I mean, I can definitely get a cost to take those out and put 6 inches of asphalt back in, which is about what it would equal. And we can go from there. The quote on the crosswalks was about $22,000, which I didn't think was terrible.
But if you like what you have, you just keep repairing for that. Well, if you don't wanna, you know, spring just repair them and see how long they hold up. But
Yeah, I
it's,
wait till spring.
yeah. You wanna get numbers and put them in our pocket for budget season, but I think the way it sounds, because with all the other projects we got.
I mean, there were so many projects that we need to do that we couldn't touch because of,
Right.
you know, just, it is what it is.
I just have to, I mean, I have to go do the ones in the crosswalks. Pretty much I have to stay on top of them because there's a trip hazard in the crosswalks.
Yeah, it's a shame.
So,
we're
I mean, I'm not
really-
so worried about the ones that are out in the street portion, you shouldn't be walking out there anyway, but we do have to try to pay attention to ones in the crosswalks and replace those promptly when we see them, so that people don't trip. Yeah, I can pull numbers together and it's gonna be 6 figures, just because it's gonna be so labor intensive to take those out. It'll be a royal pain to get those out.
Yeah, I mean, we were already pushed this year.
Sure, yeah, I wanted some direction so I know that, so I'm to wait till springtime and then repair what we can have, or what we have. Okay.
Excellent.
Can I ask a question of Matt?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are we on all the potholes that UGI and whoever else put around town, especially this one there on Union, one there on Main, that we've been asking about for the past 6 months? Where are we on this?
The one in Maine is not ours. We can't do anything to it. That's a PennDOT roadway. And they obviously don't wanna do anything with it. They had it marked for a one call and they were gonna do a dig, and then they decided they didn't wanna fiddle with it. So all I can suggest with that one, if you hear concerns from the residents, is I believe their number is 1-800-POTHOLE, and that gets people directly to PennDOT.
We could put one in ourselves too, couldn't we? 1-800-POTHOLE.
Yeah.
Why don't we do that just to get one in?
Okay.
And we can also tell the residents, but if they get enough of them, the
The-
same pothole, maybe we'll move on.
The one on Union Street, there might be two on Union Street there. UGI told me that would be done by the time that they could still get hot mix. They can't get hot mix at this point. I can go out and try to put cold patch in it and back charge UGI. I'm not sure anyone is getting hot material right now to do it properly. And the one on Catherine Street, North Catherine, is the same way. I can work with the fellow who dug that one for the sewer. He didn't know what he was doing. It was the first one he ever did, and I don't think he's gonna do another one. So I can put cold patch in there and we can hope for the best and then just back charge him in the springtime.
And we're gonna watch the ones on Lebanon and Wilson, right? Because they're already sinking.
It was Wilson and where else? Oh, yeah, they'll come back and do their permanent repair in the springtime.
I understand, but we're gonna keep an eye on it, because if we don't, and we miss the deadline, then we can't go back on them, so we gotta keep an eye on those too.
They have 2 years, but yes, we will. They have a permit that's good for 2 years that we can go back and have them redo the trenches. They can't get hot mix now either, so everyone is just kind of at a standstill for probably another month and a half, 2 months, until mid-March. The plants, someone will probably start to open. A lot of it's gonna depend on the weather and how snowy it is.
I get that, but the one there on Union Street, we've been talking about since probably August, so I make sure that we're on that one, especially as soon as it opens.
What are you asking me to do? I can contact UGI, and if they tell me they're going to do it, I'm not sure what else it is that you would like me to do,
Well,
since.
if it's bad enough, they should put cold mix in until they're ready to come back and do the permanent repair. If it's a
Okay.
bad hole, I would tell them to put cold mix in.
Okay. I mean, I can hold their permits too, if we don't want to issue any further permits for them because of poor past performance and not maintaining their trenches.
Good, there you go. So, hold their permits and tell them when they resolve their issues, we'll release their permits back. Ellen, did you have something?
To the point of a sinking fund for public works, for the ICDA the project plan here, I know that Sally mentioned this evening that under the Capitol Police Department, that 2 of the estimates came in lower. So does that mean there may be some money available to start a sinking fund with these monies for public works?
I would suggest, and I like where your head's at, maybe once we exhaust that spending plan, whatever's left, we could, maybe there might be 5 line items that there's a little bit left on each
A
one.
little bit left, a little bit, yeah.
We can roll that over to a sinking fund, and I don't wanna get into a huge budget discussion tonight, but in my mind, I'm thinking that for public works, I'm just throwing around numbers out, 4% of their budget every year should just automatically go into a vehicle replacement fund, where whatever their budget is, 4% automatically goes into a vehicle replacement fund.
Right.
On my replacement schedule, our vehicles work out to around $154,000 annually, is what needs to be put aside to.
Yeah, so, and like I said, I was just,
replace, right.
all I'm saying is, in my mind, that should just be automatically part of the budget. 4% goes into a vehicle replacement, and that it should.
I think there's a difference when you start setting up sinking, you know, start restricting stuff almost. you know, if you know you're spending so much on vehicles, you should just build that in the budget for flexibility, but I don't. You know, if you
Well,
think
there-
about it, the fire department's sort of sitting out there as a separate entity, so you're.
Yeah,
dealing with fire
there's,
trucks.
one municipality I know who, in their operating budget, has a line item for vehicle replacement. And let's say they put $50,000, $150,000, whatever. At the end of the year, if they don't need to buy the vehicle that year, they have an ordinance written that money moves into the sinking fund for vehicles. And so if you go into next budget year, let's say this year we put 150 in there. Well, we can only put, maybe next year we can only put 50 in. You have that line item, vehicle replacement, you only put 50 in that year, but your ordinance says anything out of that line item that isn't spent during the year will dump into the sinking fund.
Yeah, and to double to that point, and I'm not, an expert, but what I would recommend is if you got into a good practice where you were just contributing 4% of your budget to vehicle replacement, and you didn't use it, that 4% would still be at the end of the year, you would roll it over just like that into a sinking fund, and every year, you're at least, it's just an idea.
Right, right. Well, maybe there'll be a little bit left over here to jumpstart it.
To get it, to kick it off,
Yeah.
but.
To sustain it, it needs a plan, I know.
Yeah, once I have the replacement schedule, and it's a big Excel program right now, and I have on there the cost of the vehicles, the age they are, the mileage, the whole 9 yards, and what the anticipated replacement is out to, like I said, 2035, and it shows the way we can do it. So once I get that finalized, I'll be happy to include it to all of you, so.
If you even have that, you might not even need a percentage formula, you could just say, our vehicle line item, even though we're not gonna buy a vehicle in 2022, it's gonna be 50,000, and it's gonna come over, and then we're gonna put it in the sinking fund, next year it's gonna be 75, whatever. And it could just accumulate like that, if you have it already broken down, and then in year 2025, you need a car, the money's there.
Yeah, straight linear math by, this is how much the vehicle costs, this is the anticipated lifespan of it, divided by all, or multiplied by all of our vehicles, it's like $154,000 a year annually to fund all of the vehicles that we have. So, but yeah, I'll gladly get that to you folks once I get it a little more fair, squared away.
Does anybody else have anything for that?
I have a question for Matt.
Yes, ma'am.
When you were talking about pavers downtown, you mentioned the liquid fuels money. When
Yes.
you pull those numbers, did you put that money in there as well? Like what the balance is, if any of it is able to be used? I don't need it now, but just when you get all the, quotes together.
Sure, I mean, I have a rough idea of what's there, what we get each year. And I know how much roughly what our loan payment is. I think we have 2 more years to go on the loan payment for the downtown project. But we do get a significant amount of funds in liquid fuels each year. But yes, I can pull that together for you and send that to everybody.
Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Agenda item number 10.
Nobody's here.
They're probably still sitting back in their office thinking about that 15%. Agenda item number 11.
15%.
Council, anybody have anything?
Are we, seriously gonna contemplate selling the Main Street gym?
Yeah.
Okay. What about the property on East Seymour Street?
What property is that?
It's that little shack, the garage, and I'm assuming a piece of ground. Next
That
to
I would think that would have fire.
I would think so, too.
Pretty quick.
So, just role playing here, the borough is gonna be acquiring also the Elks, which that is also.
I understand
Maybe we should put together a comprehensive real estate plan and list a couple of these items with this same entity, one shot. I mean, there's obviously it's a little differently to dispose of real estate on the borough side, but maybe we can talk about putting a list together of properties. Maybe everybody can do that. Put the list together of what's in property you think we could like to.
I have a
dispose
list of properties I can get with Ken to.
Well, you had sent it to us, that's why I knew that we owned that little piece next to the ice cream stand.
And I was gonna say, and I mean, I know you were listening, but I think, I know we kicked this around last meeting.
we've talked about this multiple times now.
Because
just wanna move it
yeah,
forward.
we said, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
We have to decide first as a group which property you want to sell. I would take a vote on that.
I think the garage is definitely one that would be able to be sold, and I think it's a different type of property than Main Street and the pool. So I think maybe the realtors should be different.
Yes.
In terms of,
My
cause they're
concern,
commercial versus probably
my concern with the
We
main.
might be able to engage with
the same.
the same firm with maybe different agents.
And the other thing I wanted to, oh, go ahead.
My concern with the Main Street gym is that there was money set aside to do repairs at the Main Street gym. The Main Street, we all know the Main Street gym is in extreme disrepair, and we as a borough do not have the money to bring that thing. We're never gonna get the money to bring that thing up where it needs to be.
Can, I know everybody's really emotional about moving forward with this. Is it possible to get a list of the properties, the addresses, the estimated value, kick it over to Mr. Diamond, let him go through that list, see if he sees anything, highlight anything, and then we can come back and actually have addresses, properties, estimated values, and potential hurdles that we have to get through with those properties, and then, because Jenny may wanna do 4 out of the 5, I may wanna do 2 out of the 5, and then we can start.
The only thing I would ask about the estimated value is none of us on staff or.
Yeah.
You could go on Zillow.com, I mean.
Well,
I don't think we want them to do anything with that.
I think since we don't have an assessed value because we're tax exempt, so I think most of the properties won't have, you can go on Dauphin County and you can kind of look quick. I don't think we have anything since we don't pay taxes. I think we just list it as a parcel.
I think they still list an assessed value and then.
I can check.
But that's not necessarily the real estate.
That's irrelevant.
Correct.
That's, because I think we want a professional to do it.
You almost get appraisal.
Yeah. Don't worry about some.
It's still a list with.
Right.
Yeah, you're gonna be auctioning these things.
That's actually what I was.
But
Yeah,
you do wanna get an
Yeah.
appraisal
Was
to
just
understand what they are.
Getting like 5 properties, calling one auctioneer, however,
Right.
and just going.
Now, Mr. Solicitor, I know some municipalities have used Dauphin County, redevelopment authority to, manage their listings. What would you believe, I think the garage is probably not, we don't wanna do that.
Yeah, I'm not familiar enough with these various properties, like, I don't know if this would.
But the gym, and maybe
One
the
car?
pool.
Well, that's why I think it's.
And you think it would sell
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, I think the ice cream shop would buy it.
Yeah, I think the garage is going in.
Well, that's what I'm saying, let's get a list together and let's.
But what is your thoughts of engaging Dauphin County with their assistance and their expertise? And I believe they've helped some municipalities, maybe, neighboring Hummelstown and acquiring a business for their former,
We represent Hummelstown.
and
You mean the 7-Eleven?
Correct me if, the old borough building. And correct me if I'm wrong, did Dauphin County assist in that?
No, I know we're doing one right now, but I don't think they're involved in it, but, that the borough's doing directly. Now that, and we can talk to, the redevelopment authority, or sometimes the IDA, the Dauphin County Industrial Development Authority,
Just cause I know we've had the Elks listed for some time now
Yeah.
without much luck internally.
That's a tough sell.
Well, right. But they may have buyers that are looking for a structure that fits that, but not necessarily a theater.
Yeah.
So are we comfortable putting a list together, sending it over to Mr. Diamond, and
I have that list of properties and I'll get that, what else did you want with the list?
I guess just really a list, and then.
I think I have parcel numbers and a small description, so yeah, I can pull that together for you.
Just a list of the questionable properties that you're
any
You
property
don't want,
that.
you don't want a property like this building.
No, the properties that individuals are looking to dispose of, or staff is looking to dispose of, or if, you know, Counselor Kluskevich has a specific property, Counselor Seitz has a specific property.
Okay, so for the pool, Main Street Gym,
Helps.
Street Garage.
Helps.
And any properties that the two of
Yeah,
you-
we have a little
Yeah.
sliver over on Ann Street.
Yeah,
Yeah,
said
if
that
you
one
have,
on
if
Ann
there's
Street.
stuff that we own, that we're
Yeah.
paying insurance on, that we're really not
Yeah, we have some vacant
using.
lots.
Right.
Then we don't need to do that.
Yeah, like you said, the one on Ann and Wood Street there.
Right.
Yeah, there's a little
Yeah.
one up there where a duplex burned down.
Sounds
We
like those-
own half of it now.
Yeah, I mean, cause I see property all the time on municipal. I mean, a lot of that stuff, I don't know why it couldn't just go into municipal.
Yeah, if you have a little vacant lot or something.
So, yeah, let's get that. We'll send it over to Mr. Diamond, make sure there's no issues, make sure, cause the heck we found with this building, we didn't even have a deed to it, so.
Yeah, we got issues with some
Let's just make sure,
various pieces of
let's
property
make
out
sure
there.
before we start, you know, get all our ducks in a row, make sure our real estate's good, and then we can make some motions and liquidate some property.
Go along with that, just if I can interject, we had some vandalism out at, the reservoir. Someone was kind enough to throw all of our picnic tables and the trash cans into the lake for us. So the reservoir, I know the reservoir is near and dear to Greg's heart, but the reservoir is another one of those things that, you know, we own a dam. There's some issues with owning a dam. We can't keep a good eye on it because of where it is. It's remotely located. I am going to do some surveillance work out there, and hopefully we can work with some facial recognition and try to apprehend the rapscallions if they do this again. But we will be fishing the picnic tables out of the reservoir hopefully this week. But I know in the past, you know, I mean, Greg had put some beautiful signs out there, saying for who, I guess, had donated some of it or something, and they got spray painted and just destroyed. I talked to him today. They've thrown the picnic tables and the trash cans in the lake before. I mean, we're gonna chain them all together so they can't, it's gonna be work for someone, but that's another property that it can be viewed as something that is helpful and something that is a huge liability. It's a liability from the word go.
We could sell Middletown to like Lois Ware, and then we'll never have to fix a road or a sidewalk or a building.
A concession agreement.
So we could just sell it all, we could sell the whole dang town.
I mean, just something to think about. I like it out there. It is peaceful, but it is,
Started it.
I just,
yeah.
sell it all.
We had to do some repairs to
Never
the
have to fix
dam.
another, we'll never have to change another light bulb. Just think about it.
I guess I'm done. You won't need public works. Oops.
You
So-
got the list, you gotta get the list. But that's a big one.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything in council?
I just wanna add, I think it's a good idea to add the reservoir to the list. I've been out there, it is lovely, but it's too far out of town, there's too much within the borough for us to think about. So, good idea, Matt.
Anybody else have anything? Under council?
I have a question for Ken.
Yes.
Regarding the body cameras for the police, is there anything, in their contract, like does the association have to approve them or anything, or can we just implement them?
You know, I don't know of anything in the contract, but, we can ask that question of the labor attorney.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's why I directed it to you, if you weren't sure, maybe we could have Mike Miller check on it just before we purchase them.
Okay.
Ken, I do believe there has to be an accompanying, use policy that's approved by the union. Jim, you can correct me if I'm wrong. but
Yeah, I haven't looked at that collective
Yeah,
bargaining
I'm
agreement as Mike does,
thinking
but
that
that would
there's
make sense, that they're gonna say.
an
it's
appropriate use policy. It's the same with anything, bulletproof vests, they have to have, an accompanying, use policy. I think that there's a lot of policies that are, with the police that, need to be addressed with the union, but I think that there are some, I think there's some stuff about the union that whether, Dennis could actually submit it, since he's a union member, so Jim, that's something maybe.
Well, sounds like we probably shouldn't entertain that motion.
Well, I was gonna say, you're gonna
That's
have
what
to,
I'm
based
thinking.
on that, at least make it contingent
Because
upon,
Dennis was
don't
saying,
pay
well,
for it if the union
We
isn't.
need to get this stuff by January.
Well, yeah, we don't wanna do that and find
Yeah.
out they don't agree to the policy.
You gotta have it be, they've gotta come here and agree to it first before you spend any money on it.
Yeah.
So they could have that contingency in the motion, right?
Well, maybe you wanna actually have them show up and agree to it first.
The association.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would double check that with Dennis.
Well, I gotta check with Mike Miller.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, and I think there might have been something with the ICBA.
Yeah, the SCBA is the council committee to
Yeah,
dissolve
the
it.
committee.
So we actually move things.
Okay, well, and does anybody else have anything at council before we move to agenda item number 12? Okay, seeing none. Agenda item number 12, time-sensitive business.
Time-sensitive business, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion to have staff and council president address a letter to Fry Trust requesting $141,000 matching, funds for the projects of Oak Hills Park, Overyear Park, and Hallford Park.
Second.
At this time, I'd like to open up the public comment on the Fry Trust agenda item. Seeing none, I have a motion.
Ken, when you draft the letter, I spoke with the Fry Trust, they asked if we could just include, information on the projects where we're getting our matching grants from, you know, project, scopes and so forth, and lay that out for them so that they have an idea of what we are, what we're doing on each project.
Okay, that will,
So, you know, just a general letter with the project scope, attached to it.
we can show it, we can send it around before Ian signs it, and,
You sent it to John Davidson.
Correct.
I have a motion by Councilor Sykes, a second by Councilor Kuskevich to send a letter to the Fry Trust. Does anybody have any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I believe, a motion for the ICBA.
commit to dissolve the ICD.
Commit to dissolving it.
So the funds can be moved, what's some good wording?
I just say a motion to dissolve it prior to, the,
Industrial commercial trust?
Yeah.
A motion to dissolve the,
Commit to dissolve.
yeah, commit to, cause again, we're gonna have to, at the next meeting, actually do
Does
it.
anybody wanna make a motion, commit to dissolve the industrial commercial development authority?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilor, Knoll and a second by Councilor Kuskevich. At this time, I'd like to open it up to public comment. Seeing none, does council have any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes with 2 extensions, or two noes.
Okay, in view of that, we'll record the deed, move the real estate, and then up to Sally, we'll talk to the banks, see what, resolution they need.
Thank
Probably
you.
for during this time, we can move that, and we'll wrap everything up there, and then next business meeting, we'll bring the resolution to actually send the stuff to the Department of State and approve the certificate of dissolution.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any other time-sensitive business? Seeing none, at this time I would like to move to general public comment. Does anybody have general public comment? Go for it.
My name's Earl. I just want to express some gratitude to this body for showing some unity and pride in our community and giving some very good pointers to the developer. I'm one of the residents that lives over in that neighborhood, as you, Mr. Reitinger. So it's very heartwarming to see this body unite and go in the back to our town and demanding that we get the best for this neighborhood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other general public comment? At this time, I'd like to adjourn to executive session. We will be returning. We'll be discussing potential litigation and personnel.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Want a couple hundred pickups, Jack? Got you a good deal on them.
They might be like the burner, all the, deserves are probably out of them.
Yeah, they've been there a while, they've done their time. And here's Mrs. Miller, a shining beacon.
Potential letter that we can send, EMS, and
I forgot the sign.
time, I'd like to report on the executive session we held. We discussed personnel potential litigation. No action was taken. Does council have anything else before we leave? Motion to adjourn.
I would like to make a motion. I move that a conditional offer of employment be made for the public safety director position to candidate William Baldwin, conditioned upon a clean criminal background check, a satisfactory physical exam, a satisfactory psychological evaluation, negotiation of a written agreement of employment with terms acceptable to council in consultation with the borough solicitor, and passing of PA Act 120.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilor Willenbecker, a second by Councilor Kluskevich. At this time, is there any public comment? At this time, is there any comment from the council? Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
I actually have a question.
Go ahead.
Ms. Miller, I ask this with all due respect. Do you have an intention to vote on this?
Doesn't affect it. I voted on something like this before, there was no problem.
Well, the reason I ask that is because on 2 other occasions, December 18th, 2018, and January 2nd, 2019, you executed memorandums of a notice of abstention.
Yep.
According to the form which you filled out, it says pursuant to the Pennsylvania Public Official and Employee Ethics Law, I hereby declare that I am required to abstain regarding the following issue in motion. First of all, it's my understanding you actually don't have a legal obligation to abstain. That's my understanding. But nevertheless, you filled out this form concerning the promotion of Gary Rutz to sergeant, and your reasoning, you note my conflict reason for abstaining is as follows: will be supervisor over my son. So you abstained from the promotion of Gary Rutz to sergeant, noting he would supervise your son, and you executed that document. Then, roughly a year later, on January 2nd, 2019, you abstained again, filling out this form, noting that you were declaring that you are required to abstain regarding the following issue in motion: promotion of Tyler Zarin to sergeant. And then in my conflict reason for abstaining, you note shift supervisor over, then you cross that out and put in the department my son is employed by, and you executed that document. I don't think that you have in fact I know you don't have a legal obligation to abstain from this, but my question is, if you felt that there was a reason that you could not vote on the sergeants that either oversee your son or work in the department in which your son is employed by, what makes you voting on the top person in the department any different?
I'll abstain.
Okay.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Kluskevich?
Yes.
Ms. Knoll?
No.
Ms. Lloyd?
No.
Ms. Miller?
I abstain.
Mr. Sykes?
Yes.
Ms. Willenbecker?
Yes.
Mr. Reddinger?
Yes. Motion carries 5-2 with 1 abstention.
4-5.
4-2.
Or
4-2. 4-1.
4, yes.
4-2.
4-2 with 1
One
abstention.
abstention.
Yes, thank you.
Well, I think,
Motion.
so we're going to be, Jim, we're gonna be drafting a conditional letter at this point.
Yeah, I can work with Ken, or probably Mike Miller, probably more appropriate to work with that, with Ken on that.
And then, in terms of setting up the
So you wanna, determine a salary for the initial offer?
it's gonna be in the letter.
Did he?
Yeah, we had talked about this previously, but I don't know.
$112,000 to put in the letter for.
Yeah, why don't you make a motion?
I move to offer as a salary to William Baldwin $112,000.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Willenbecker, second by Counselor Puskevich. At this time, I'd like to open up to the public for any comment. Seeing none, council have any comment? Madam Secretary, would you please call a roll?
Mr. Kliskevich?
Yes.
Ms. Knoll?
No.
Ms. Lloyd?
No.
Ms. Miller?
I abstain.
Mr. Seitz?
Yes.
Ms. Willenbecker?
Yes.
Mr. Redinger?
Yes. Motion carries 4-2 with one abstention.
Assuming he accepts the offer, do you need to be involved at all with, setting up any of the tests or anything?
Again, I'll talk to Mike Miller, or through Ken.
I have the contact information from the psychiatrist and, all the places that we sent.
Since we have experts in that area, I don't get involved in that.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
One of my questions is about state. You coming in to take these questions all the time?
Right.
From,
Yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
If he can't come in here to deal with every single, because there's a physical exam, he has to go for a pre-employment drug screen, he has to go for a psychiatric evaluation, he has to go
Can't do it all
for,
the same day.
we sent him to a lie other people to a lie detector. He's not doing that all in one day, so he's gonna travel from New Hampshire to here.
He's just gonna have to make those arrangements, and we'll coordinate with him as best as we can to make those arrangements. It is what it is. Don't overthink it.
Well, we
But
only
this
ask
time
people
would
that
we be-
anticipate he's gonna ask it, and I don't know what your answer is.
We'll have to
I'm
make.
not overthinking, I'm just getting ready.
What Ken is asking is, the guy's gonna say to you, if you want me to come in there 6 different times,
What's the harm if he gets a physical in New Hampshire? Well, physical is physical. I mean, as long as it's documented by a medical professional, I mean, really.
Yeah, I just don't know, without Mike Miller, the guys that do, I don't know whether they have some special test for I just don't know anything about it. It may well, I would think it could happen in any state, I don't think,
Right, yeah.
whatever the requirements are, I don't
That's a
think.
good point.
I mean, if it can be accommodated up there, you know, I'm
Same thing with psychological. is it?
Yeah, no, I'm assuming a lot of these things
well,
could be.
then let me just interrupt for 1 second. Not trying to belabor the point or be difficult, but you don't let the employee choose what psychiatrist
No,
they're going to.
no.
This is, and I don't know any psychiatrist up there at all. The one that was recommended here, and the one that we used previously for Middletown, we've used in the past, he was actually a professor of mine. We are controlling it. So sending someone or allowing them to go to their own appointments, I would not recommend, and I'm sure Mike Miller's gonna say the same.
Yeah, I don't think they're saying he
No.
gets to pick, it's just what state is it happening in.
Right.
Well, how the hell are we gonna pick a psychiatrist in
Well, I
New
had,
Hampshire?
my previous employer, my psychological evaluations were done via video.
That's also true, you should probably presume.
I mean, we can figure out those
That was before
logistics, I don't think you need a motion.
Staff in the
Yeah.
solicitor
Yeah.
can figure out the logistics with the candidate.
Well, then you're giving staff the authority to do that, correct?
Yes.
Okay, as long as it's noted, so we don't come back in 2 more meetings.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Out of here.
Can I get a picture for you, quick?